Godzilla, the king of the monsters, a creature so powerful, so iconic, that his very presence commands the screen. But have you ever noticed something strange about him? In the Monsterverse, Godzilla is almost always alone. Sure, he teams up occasionally, like with Mothra or Kong, but at his core, he's a solitary force. Why is that? Why does the king of the monsters prefer to walk a lonely path? Today, we're diving deep into the lore, the psychology, and the symbolism behind Godzilla's isolation. Let's unravel the mystery of why Godzilla always stands alone. To understand why Godzilla is alone, we need to go back to his origins. Godzilla was born out of tragedy. In the original 1954 film, he was a metaphor for the horrors of nuclear warfare, a creature awakened and mutated by humanity's recklessness. From the very beginning, Godzilla was a force of nature, untamed and uncontrollable. He didn't belong to anyone or anything. He was, and still is, a solitary being, a product of a world that had already rejected him. In the Monsterverse, this idea is amplified. Godzilla is portrayed as an ancient alpha predator, a titan who has existed for millions of years. He's not just a monster, he's a balancing force of nature. But with great power comes great isolation. Godzilla's role as the apex titan means he has no equals, no peers. He's the top of the food chain, and that's a lonely place to be. In Godzilla, king of the monsters, we learn that Godzilla is the alpha titan, the one who maintains balance in the ecosystem. But being the alpha isn't just about strength, it's about responsibility. Godzilla's duty is to keep the other titans in check, to ensure they don't destroy the world. This role forces him to remain distant, to act as a guardian rather than a companion. What's key here is that Godzilla doesn't need others to validate his power or position. Even in a world filled with monstrous beings, Godzilla's place as Earth's alpha is unquestionable. While Kong and Godzilla may fight, it's not about forming a relationship or an alliance. Rather, it's about understanding who holds the true power. This power struggle reflects Godzilla's solitary nature. He has no need to align himself with others because his role as the protector of Earth is undeniable. In Godzilla, King of the Monsters, we see Godzilla clash with King Ghidorah, an extraterrestrial being with 3 heads and a deadly thirst for destruction. But what stands out here is how Godzilla reacts. While other monsters like Ghidorah are driven by a need for power, Godzilla's motivations are deeper. He is, at his core, a protector of Earth. This sets him apart from the other creatures in the Monsterverse, who are more often driven by base instincts and survival. Think about it. If Godzilla were to form alliances or friendships, it could compromise his ability to make impartial decisions. He can't afford to play favorites. His loyalty is to the balance of nature, not to any individual titan or even humanity. This is why, even when he teams up with Mothra or Kong, it's always temporary. At the end of the day, Godzilla walks alone because he has to. But what about his occasional interactions with other kaiju? Let's talk about the few times Godzilla has been seen working alongside, or even sparring with other monsters. In Godzilla, King of the Monsters, Godzilla had a strange, almost cooperative relationship with Mothra. Mothra, the giant winged creature, shares a symbiotic relationship with Godzilla, often acting as a protector and ally. But this doesn't change the fact that Godzilla remains a loner at heart. In contrast, Rodan's interaction with Godzilla is more adversarial. Rodan initially challenges Godzilla's authority, but ultimately, they form a temporary alliance against Ghidorah. However, this alliance is driven more by necessity than friendship. Once the battle is over, Godzilla remains the solitary force, not needing or seeking any long-term companionship with other monsters. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room, or should I say, the titan in the room. Is Godzilla lonely? Does he feel the weight of his solitude? While we can't exactly ask him, we can look at his behavior for clues. Godzilla is a creature of instinct, but he's also shown to be highly intelligent. He understands the world around him, and he's capable of forming bonds, like his symbiotic relationship with Mothra. But these bonds are fleeting. Godzilla's primary focus is always on his duty as the Alpha Titan. He doesn't have the luxury of companionship because his role requires him to be a solitary force. Even in Godzilla vs. Kong, we see a glimpse of mutual respect between the two titans, but Godzilla doesn't stick around to be friends. He's not interested in forming a team or sharing the spotlight. He's the king, and kings don't need companions, they need subjects. Godzilla's solitude isn't just a character trait, it's symbolic. He represents the untamed forces of nature, the raw power that exists beyond human control. And nature, by its very essence, is solitary. It doesn't need companionship or validation, it simply is. Think about it. When a volcano erupts or a tsunami hits, it doesn't do so out of malice or camaraderie. It's just following its natural course. Godzilla is the same way. He's a force of nature, and forces of nature don't need friends. They exist independently, fulfilling their purpose without interference. But what about his occasional interactions with other kaiju? Let's talk about the few times Godzilla has been seen working alongside or even sparring with other monsters. In Godzilla, King of the Monsters, Godzilla had a strange, almost cooperative relationship with Mothra. Mothra, the giant winged creature, shares a symbiotic relationship with Godzilla, often acting as a protector and ally. But this doesn't change the fact that Godzilla remains a loner at heart. In contrast, Rodan's interaction with Godzilla is more adversarial. Rodan initially challenges Godzilla's authority, but ultimately, they form a temporary alliance against Ghidorah. However, this alliance is driven more by necessity than friendship. Once the battle is over, Godzilla remains the solitary force, not needing or seeking any long-term companionship with other monsters. Godzilla's solitude also serves as a reminder of humanity's insignificance in the grand scheme of things. No matter how advanced we become, we're still just tiny specks in the face of nature's power. And Godzilla, as the embodiment of that power, stands alone to remind us of our place in the universe. Of course, there are exceptions to Godzilla's solitude. In Godzilla, King of the Monsters, he forms a temporary alliance with Mothra, a titan who shares his goal of maintaining balance. And in Godzilla vs. Kong, he reluctantly teams up with Kong to defeat Mechagodzilla. But even in these moments, Godzilla's partnerships are short-lived. Mothra's sacrifice is a poignant moment, but it also reinforces Godzilla's isolation. Even when he has allies, they don't last. Mothra dies, and Kong goes his separate way. Godzilla is left alone once again, as he always has been. Even his rivalry with Kong ends with a mutual understanding, but not friendship. Godzilla respects Kong, but he doesn't need him. At the end of the day, the King of the Monsters walks alone. So, what does the future hold for Godzilla? Will he ever find companionship, or is he destined to remain alone? Based on the Monsterverse's trajectory, it seems unlikely. Godzilla's role as the Alpha Titan requires him to remain a solitary figure, a guardian who stands apart from the rest. Some fans have speculated that Godzilla might form a more permanent alliance with other Titans, but I think that would undermine his character. Godzilla's solitude is what makes him unique. It's what sets him apart from other monsters and cements his status as the King of the Monsters. Ultimately, Godzilla's loneliness is a core part of who he is. It's not a flaw or a weakness. It's a testament to his strength and resilience. He doesn't need companionship because he's already complete. He's the king, and the king reigns alone. Godzilla's solitude is more than just a character trait. It's a reflection of his role as the Alpha Titan, the embodiment of nature's power, and the king of the monsters. He stands alone because he has to, because the world needs him to. And in doing so, he reminds us of the beauty and tragedy of solitude, of what it means to carry the weight of the world on your shoulders, with no one to share the burden. So the next time you watch Godzilla roar, fight, or simply stand tall amidst the chaos, remember this: he's not just a monster, he's a symbol, a force of nature, and a king. And kings don't need companions, they need subjects. Long live the king. So, why is Godzilla always alone in the Monsterverse? Because he has a unique role to play. He's not just a monster, he's a force of nature, a guardian, and the king of the monsters. And while he may occasionally interact with other kaiju, he stands alone because of his responsibility and his unique place in the world. Godzilla is truly a creature like no other, born from the ashes of destruction, but standing as a symbol of resilience, strength, and balance. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this deep dive into the King of the Monsters, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more content about the Monsterverse and beyond.